Liam pressed his face against the shuttle window and watched the volcano planet grow larger. Red rivers of lava cut through black mountains like glowing scars. His mom sat beside him, reading through data files about the draconids for the 100th time. "You're going to love this place," she said without looking up. "The draconids are one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They've been flying between stars since before humans discovered fire." Liam didn't care about how old they were. He wanted to see real dragons. That's what the draconids looked like according to the pictures. Giant lizards with wings and scales that changed colors. The whole trip from Earth had taken 3 weeks, and he'd spent most of it reading everything he could find about them. The shuttle landed on a platform made of black stone. Heat waves rose from the ground even though the platform had cooling systems. When the door opened, Liam felt the warmth hit his face. It smelled like sulfur and hot metal. A tall draconid waited for them at the bottom of the ramp. Her scales were deep blue with hints of silver. She wore what looked like ceremonial robes covered in patterns that seemed to move. "Welcome to Pyro 7, the draconid said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Lady Embera, advisor to the High Chancellor. We are honored to host Earth's cultural exchange program." Liam's mom bowed the way she'd practiced. Liam copied her. Lady Embera led them through the capital city of Ashenfell. Buildings rose from the volcanic rock like they'd grown there naturally. Draconids flew overhead, their wings catching the light from the lava rivers. Some walked on the streets using their wings like cloaks. Every single one of them stared at Liam and his mom. "They're curious," Lady Embera explained. "Humans rarely visit our world. The heat is uncomfortable for most species." "It's not so bad," Liam said, though sweat already soaked his shirt. They arrived at a massive building that Lady Embera called the Hall of Unity. Inside, the temperature dropped to something bearable. The main room had a ceiling so high Liam couldn't see the top. Hundreds of draconids filled the space, all dressed in fancy clothes. Some had gold decorations woven into their scales. Others wore jewelry that glowed with internal light. "This is the welcome ceremony," Liam's mom whispered. "Remember your manners." The High Chancellor stood on a raised platform at the far end of the hall. His scales were deep red with edges of gold. He was even bigger than Lady Embera, with horns that curved back from his head like a crown. "People of the Draconid Empire," the Chancellor's voice boomed across the hall. "Today we welcome representatives from Earth. Though humans are new to the stars, they show great promise. Let us celebrate this union between our peoples." Music started playing from somewhere. It sounded like nothing Liam had ever heard. Draconids began to move around the hall in what might have been dancing. Servants brought out platters of food that glowed and steamed. Liam stayed close to his mom as they walked through the crowd. Every draconid wanted to talk to them, asking questions about Earth and humans. Some of the questions were strange. "Is it true humans can survive on a planet with nitrogen in the air?" one draconid asked. "Do you really have only one heart?" asked another. Liam answered as best he could, but there were so many of them. The noise grew louder. More draconids crowded around. He felt trapped by giant scaled bodies and beating wings. Then someone screamed. The crowd scattered. A small draconid barely reaching Liam's waist burst through the running adults. The little dragon's scales flashed between red and orange and purple. Small flames shot from its mouth as it ran. It crashed into a table covered in ceremonial artifacts. Glass shattered. Gold statues toppled over. "The royal hatchling has escaped," someone shouted. "Where are the handlers? Someone stop her before she hurts herself." The little dragon knocked over another table and roared. It was a tiny roar, almost cute, but the adult draconids backed away like she was a bomb about to explode. She breathed another small jet of flame and the nearest draconids jumped back several feet. Liam watched the chaos. All these huge, powerful dragons were afraid of one small child. The little dragon wasn't being mean. Her scales kept changing colors too fast. Her wings fluttered without rhythm. She turned in circles like she didn't know where to go. She was scared. Liam had seen the same thing in dogs at the shelter where his mom sometimes volunteered. Animals acted aggressive when they were frightened and confused. "Liam, stay back," his mom warned, but Liam was already walking forward. The crowd gasped. Lady Embera said something sharp in the draconid language. The High Chancellor stepped to the edge of the platform, his scales turning dark with concern. Liam ignored all of them. He kept his hands where the little dragon could see them, palms open and empty. He'd read that draconids understood this gesture as peaceful. The little dragon stopped running and stared at him. Her scales shifted to orange with streaks of purple. Orange meant scared. Purple meant confused. Liam had memorized the color chart during the shuttle ride. He sat down on the floor, crossing his legs. This made him smaller, less threatening. The little dragon tilted her head, watching him with bright yellow eyes. "Hey there," Liam said softly. "Everyone's being pretty loud, huh?" "That's scary." The little dragon took a step closer. Her scales flickered with green now. Green meant curious. "I'm Liam," he continued, keeping his voice gentle. "What's your name?" Another step. The dragon was only a few feet away now. The entire hall had gone silent. Liam could hear his own heartbeat. The little dragon made a sound almost like a chirp. Her scales shifted more toward green with less purple and orange. "You're pretty brave to run around this big scary place," Liam said. "But I bet you're tired now." The dragon chirped again and walked right up to him. She sniffed his hand carefully, her nostrils flaring. Then she climbed into his lap like a cat and curled up in a ball. Her scales turned bright blue. The color chart said blue meant content and safe. The little dragon closed her eyes and made a soft rumbling sound. She was purring. Nobody in the hall moved. Nobody spoke. Liam looked up and saw dozens of draconids staring at him with their mouths hanging open. Lady Embera had her hand over her chest. The High Chancellor's scales had turned white, which wasn't on any chart Liam had seen. "What?" Liam asked. "What did I do?" "That," whispered an old draconid nearby, "has never happened before. Not in 10,000 years. The little dragon in Liam's lap yawned, showing tiny sharp teeth, and snuggled closer. Her tail wrapped around his arm. Liam gently petted her head. Her scales were warm and smooth. She purred louder. He still didn't understand what the big deal was, but looking at all the shocked faces around him, Liam figured he'd just done something very important. He just wished someone would tell him what. 3 days had passed since Liam made friends with the baby dragon. Her name was Cinder, and she followed him everywhere now. The royal palace had given them a large room with windows that looked out over the lava rivers. Cinder liked to sit by the windows and watch the molten rock flow past. Liam woke up to find Cinder staring at him from 2 inches away. Her yellow eyes were huge in the morning light. "You're creepy when you do that," he said. Cinder chirped and licked his face with her warm tongue. She did this every morning now. Liam had stopped trying to explain that humans didn't greet each other this way. A knock came at the door. Lady Embera entered, her scales showing respect colors of soft purple and white. "Good morning, Liam. The scholars have requested another session with you and Cinder today." Liam groaned. The scholars had been testing him for 3 days straight. They measured everything: how he talked, how he moved, what sounds he made. They even collected samples of his sweat to study. "Do we have to?" Liam asked. "I'm afraid so. The High Chancellor wants to understand what happened at the ceremony. No outsider has ever calmed a hatchling before." Cinder climbed onto Liam's shoulders and wrapped her tail around his neck like a scarf. She did this when she felt protective. Liam scratched under her chin and she started purring. The testing room was deep inside the palace. White walls, bright lights, and machines that hummed and beeped. A dozen draconid scientists waited there, their scales showing excited yellows and greens. Liam's mom was already there, talking with an older draconid whose scales were faded blue with age. "This is Scholar Brightscale," his mom introduced. "He's been studying human draconid interaction for the past 2 days." "Fascinating," Scholar Brightscale said, looking at Cinder on Liam's shoulders. "The hatchling treats you like a parent figure. She responds to your emotional state before you even speak. She's smart," Liam said. "She understands a lot. More than you know." Scholar Brightscale gestured to a screen showing complex graphs. "We've discovered something remarkable. Humans produce chemical signals that draconid hatchlings instinctively trust. It's in your scent, your voice patterns, even how you move." "Like pheromones?" Liam's mom asked, leaning forward. "Similar, but more complex. Humans evolved alongside many different animal species on Earth, correct?" "Yes," Liam's mom confirmed. "Humans domesticated dogs, cats, horses, and dozens of other animals over thousands of years. That process changed you," Scholar Brightscale explained. "Your species developed the ability to read emotional states across different types of creatures. You can understand what a dog feels, what a cat wants, even what a bird means by its song. This ability works on draconid hatchlings too." Liam thought about this. He'd always been good with animals. Stray dogs came to him in the park. Cats that hated everyone else would curl up in his lap. He thought it was just luck. But why doesn't it work on adult draconids? Another scholar asked. Adult draconids have developed mental shields, Scholar Brightscale said. We learn to control our emotional responses as we age. Hatchlings haven't learned this yet. They're open, vulnerable, and respond to genuine emotional connection. So Liam is like a universal babysitter? One of the younger scholars joked. More than that, Scholar Brightscale said seriously. This changes everything we know about humans. Your species might be uniquely qualified to bridge gaps between different peoples. The testing continued for hours. They had Liam play with Cinder while machines recorded everything. They watched how he responded when Cinder got frustrated with a puzzle. They noted how his voice changed when he comforted her. They measured the distance between them and how often they touched. Cinder got bored halfway through and started breathing little puffs of smoke at the scientists. One of them jumped back and nearly knocked over an expensive machine. Liam couldn't help laughing. She's just playing, he said. Watch. Liam held out his hand and Cinder breathed a small flame into his palm. It didn't hurt. The fire was warm but controlled. Cinder knew exactly how hot to make it, so Liam felt the heat without getting burned. Every scientist in the room gasped. That's impossible, one whispered. Hatchlings can't control their fire until they're at least 5 years old. Cinder's only 3, Lady Embera said from the doorway. She'd been watching the whole time. Yet she demonstrates control we've never seen in one so young. It's because of Liam, Scholar Brightscale said. The hatchling is learning faster because she has a consistent, patient caregiver. Something most young draconids lack, what do you mean? Liam asked. Lady Embera's scales shifted to sad gray. Draconid hatchlings are difficult to manage. They're strong, they breathe fire, and they're emotionally volatile. Most families hire professional handlers to care for young ones. Parents visit their children, but they don't raise them directly. That's terrible, Liam said. Cinder must have felt his sadness because she nuzzled his cheek and chirped softly. It's our way, Lady Embera said. Or it was. Watching you with Cinder makes us question traditions we've held for thousands of years. The door burst open. A draconid in military armor marched in. His scales were dark red with black edges. 3 soldiers followed him. This nonsense has gone on long enough, the armored draconid announced. I am General Scalebane, commander of the Royal Guard. The High Chancellor may permit this experiment, but I will not stand by while a human corrupts a royal hatchling. Cinder hissed at the general. Smoke poured from her nostrils. Her scales turned aggressive red and orange. Corrupts? Liam's mom stepped forward, her voice sharp. My son has done nothing but care for Cinder. The hatchling should be with draconid handlers learning draconid ways, General Scalebane said. Instead, she's being taught human softness. She'll grow weak. She's 3 years old, Liam said. She's supposed to play and learn. Not trained to be a soldier. General Scalebane's eyes narrowed. You know nothing of our culture, human child. Draconids are warriors. We are strong because we are disciplined from birth. You're lonely, Liam said quietly. The words came out before he could stop them. All of you are. You have this amazing ability to fly and breathe fire and live for hundreds of years. But you don't know how to be close to each other. The room went completely silent. General Scalebane's scales turned pure black with rage. The soldiers behind him shifted nervously. How dare you, the general whispered, but Scholar Brightscale was nodding slowly. The human child sees what we've been blind to for centuries. We've prioritized strength over connection. Perhaps that's why our population has been declining. Enough! General Scalebane turned to leave. The High Chancellor will hear of this insult. After he left, Liam felt Cinder trembling on his shoulders. He lifted her down and held her close. She was scared by all the shouting. It's okay, he whispered. He's just grumpy. Some people are like that. Cinder slowly relaxed. Her scales faded back to calm blue. Lady Embera watched them with an unreadable expression. General Scalebane represents the old guard. Many draconids agree with him. They see human influence as a threat. What do you think? Liam's mom asked. Lady Embera was quiet for a long moment. Then she knelt down so she was eye level with Liam and Cinder. Her scales showed honest green. I think, she said slowly, that my own daughter is being raised by handlers right now. I see her once per week if my duties allow. She barely knows me. Lady Embera's voice cracked. Watching you with Cinder, I realize I've missed everything important. I've followed tradition and lost my child in the process. Cinder chirped and reached out toward Lady Embera. The adult draconid looked surprised but held out her hand. Cinder climbed into it and nuzzled against Lady Embera's scales. Lady Embera's eyes filled with tears that steamed in the heat. "Perhaps," she said, "humans have more to teach us than we thought." Liam had been on Pyro 7 for 2 weeks when the alarm started screaming. He was in the palace gardens with Cinder, teaching her to play a game he'd invented using heat-resistant balls. Cinder loved games. She'd learned to catch the balls in midair and return them without setting them on fire. The alarm sound was like nothing Liam had heard before. It vibrated through his bones and made his teeth hurt. Cinder's scales flashed a terrified white and she flew straight to Liam, wrapping herself around him completely. "What's happening?" Liam shouted over the noise. Draconids were running everywhere. Some flew overhead in organized patterns. Others ran toward a huge building at the edge of the city. Smoke was rising from it, but not the normal kind of smoke from the lava rivers. This smoke was purple and it crackled with energy. Lady Embera found them within minutes. Her scales showed fear colors and command colors mixed together. "Come with me now," she said, grabbing Liam's arm. "The plasma research facility is failing. We need to evacuate the sector." "What's a plasma research facility?" Liam asked as they ran. "It's where we study pure energy," Lady Embera explained. "The kind of energy that powers our ships and cities. If the containment fails completely, half of Ashenfell will be destroyed." They reached a transport platform. Other draconids were already there, evacuating with their families. Liam saw young draconids being carried by professional handlers. The children were crying and scared, and the handlers looked stressed trying to manage multiple frightened hatchlings at once. One little draconid broke free from his handler and ran in circles, breathing fire everywhere. The handler couldn't get close without risking burns. "Liam, we don't have time," Lady Embera urged. But Liam was already walking toward the panicked hatchling. He knelt down and held out his hands. "Hey buddy, I know it's scary. Want to come with me where it's safe?" The little draconid stopped running and stared at him. Then he scrambled into Liam's arms and held on tight. Cinder chirped at the newcomer but didn't seem jealous. She just moved to Liam's shoulders to make room. The handler stared at Liam with wide eyes. "How did you do that?" "Later," Lady Embera said. "Everyone onto the transport now." They flew away from the city center toward the outer districts. From the air, Liam could see the plasma facility clearly. Purple lightning was shooting out of it in all directions. Draconid emergency crews surrounded the building, but they kept getting pushed back by energy blasts. "Can't they shut it down?" Liam's mom asked. She'd met them at the transport. "The manual controls are inside," Lady Embera said, "but the energy field prevents anyone from entering. We're trying to activate the emergency shutdown remotely, but the system is ancient. It requires a specific harmonic frequency to respond." "What does that mean?" Liam asked. "A sound," Scholar Brightscale said. He was on the transport too, his scales showing worried colors. The emergency system was designed to respond to a crystal that produces a specific tone. But the crystal degraded centuries ago and we never replaced it because the system was supposed to be perfectly safe. Down below, the purple lightning was getting worse. Liam watched as one massive bolt hit a nearby building and shattered its walls. Debris flew everywhere. Emergency crews dragged injured draconids away from the danger zone. Cinder was making distressed sounds. Not quite crying, but close. The scared hatchling in Liam's arms was crying, though, actual tears running down his small face. "Shh, it's okay," Liam said, rocking the little one gently. He started humming without thinking about it. Just a simple tune his mom used to hum to him when he was scared. An old earth lullaby. Cinder joined in. Her distressed sound shifted and matched the tune. She couldn't hum like a human, but she made a harmonizing sound that fit perfectly with Liam's melody. Scholar Brightscale's head whipped around so fast Liam thought he'd hurt himself. "What frequency is that?" the scholar demanded. "What?" Liam asked. "The sound you're making." "Both of you." Scholar Brightscale pulled out a device and pointed it at them. His scales turned excited green. "By the ancient fires, that's it." "That's the frequency. What are you talking about?" Lady Ember asked. "The emergency shutdown frequency. The human's voice combined with the hatchling's harmonic creates the exact tone we need." Scholar Brightscale looked at Liam with urgent eyes. "Can you do that louder?" "Much louder?" "I don't understand," Liam said. "We need to broadcast that sound at the plasma facility. If we can get the right frequency to the control system, it will trigger the emergency shutdown." "How are we supposed to get close enough?" Liam's mom asked. "The energy field keeps pushing everyone back. We have amplification drones," Lady Embera said. They're designed to broadcast emergency messages across the city. If we can record the frequency and amplify it, we might be able to project it into the facility. Might? Liam's mom didn't look happy. It's the only chance we have, Scholar Brightscale said. Otherwise, the containment will fail in the next 10 minutes and thousands will die. Everyone looked at Liam. Okay, he said. What do I need to do? They moved fast. A recording drone was brought to the transport. Scholar Brightscale explained that Liam needed to sing the lullaby while Cinder harmonized with him. The drone would record it, analyze the frequency, and broadcast it at amplified levels. You'll need to sustain the note for at least 30 seconds, Scholar Brightscale said. Can you do that? Liam nodded. He'd been in choir at school. 30 seconds wasn't impossible. Cinder needs to stay in harmony with you the entire time, the scholar added. If either of you stops or goes off key, the frequency will fail. Liam looked at Cinder. She was just a baby. Could she really do this? Cinder looked back at him and chirped. Her scales showed determined orange. She understood somehow. She knew this was important. We're ready, Liam said. The recording drone hovered in front of them. Lady Embera gave the signal. Liam started humming the lullaby. Cinder joined immediately, her harmonic voice blending with his. The little hatchling in Liam's arms stopped crying and listened, mesmerized. Scholar Brightscale watched his device intently. That's it. Hold that exact pitch. Liam switched from humming to singing the actual words. His voice wasn't great, but it was steady. Cinder matched every note. Liam could feel the harmony between them. It was like they were connected somehow, their sounds weaving together into something bigger than either of them alone. The scholar counted down with his fingers. 20 seconds, 25, 30. Got it, Scholar Brightscale shouted. The drone has the pattern. Transmitting now. A cluster of amplification drones flew toward the plasma facility at high speed. They surrounded the building in a loose formation. Then they all began broadcasting at once. The sound was incredible. Liam's lullaby and Cinder's harmony echoed across the entire city, amplified 1,000 times. It wasn't just sound anymore. It was something physical. Liam could feel it in his chest like a second heartbeat. The purple lightning around the plasma facility flickered. The crashing energy blasts became less frequent. Then, all at once, everything stopped. The purple smoke disappeared. The facility went dark and silent. Every draconid on the transport was frozen, staring. It worked, someone whispered. The emergency crews moved in quickly to secure the facility. Messages came over the communication channels reporting 0 casualties and minimal damage to surrounding structures. The city was safe. Liam realized he was shaking. Cinder wrapped herself around him tighter and purred. The scared little hatchling in his arms had fallen asleep. That was impossible, Lady Embera said. She looked at Liam like she'd never seen him before. The harmonic frequency required precision down to the smallest fraction. One note off and it would have failed. Yet you did it perfectly. Cinder did it, Liam said. I just hummed. She made it work. You did it together, Scholar Brightscale corrected. Human voice and draconid harmonic combined in a way we've never seen. The technical specifications for that emergency system were written 5,000 years ago. We thought the frequency was impossible to recreate without the original crystal. He shook his head in wonder, but you two made it seem easy. Later that evening, after Liam had returned the borrowed hatchling to his grateful family, he sat with Cinder in their room. She was curled up in her favorite spot by the window, watching the stars come out. You were really brave today, Liam said. Cinder chirped and her scales showed happy blue with streaks of proud gold. There was a knock at the door. The High Chancellor himself entered. His massive form barely fit through the doorway. Lady Embera and several other important-looking draconids followed him. Liam of Earth, the Chancellor said formally. Today you saved countless lives. You demonstrated abilities we did not know were possible. The Council of Elders has met in emergency session. We have much to discuss about the relationship between humans and draconids. Are we in trouble? Liam asked nervously. The Chancellor's scales flickered with something that might have been amusement. No, young one. Quite the opposite. You've shown us that perhaps the galaxy is more connected than we believed. What you and Cinder did today was not magic or advanced technology. It was cooperation across species boundaries. It was friendship. General Scalebane won't like that, Lady Embera said quietly. General Scalebane is old and set in his ways, the Chancellor replied. But even he cannot deny what we all witnessed. The question now is not whether humans belong in our world. The question is what other wonders we might achieve together. The old library smelled like dust and ancient paper. Liam had never seen so many books in one place. They filled shelves that reached from floor to ceiling, and the ceiling was 4 stories high. Some of the books were so old they were carved into metal plates instead of printed on paper. Scholar Brightscale led them through narrow aisles between the shelves. His scales showed excited colors that kept changing every few seconds. Cinder rode on Liam's shoulders, unusually quiet. Even she seemed impressed by how old this place was. The head archivist contacted me 3 days after the plasma incident, Scholar Brightscale explained. She said she remembered something from the ancient texts, something about beings who could calm any creature and bridge differences between species. They reached a reading chamber where several elderly draconids waited. One of them, with scales so pale they were almost white, stepped forward. "I am Archivist Oldwing," she said. Her voice was soft and crackly. "I have maintained these records for 200 years. My grandmother maintained them for 200 years before me. And her grandmother before that. The knowledge stored here goes back 50,000 years. 50,000 years. Liam couldn't even imagine that much time. Archivist Oldwing gestured to a table where several metal plates were laid out. Strange symbols covered them. Some symbols looked almost like pictures. Others were completely alien. "These plates are from the Age of Wandering," Oldwing explained. "A time when draconids first left our home system and explored the galaxy. We met many species during those early years. Most are extinct now or changed beyond recognition. But these records mention one group that left a lasting impression." She touched one of the plates with a careful claw. "We called them the Bridgers. Not because they built bridges of stone or metal, but because they built bridges between hearts." Liam's mom leaned forward to examine the plates. "What did these Bridgers look like?" "The records are incomplete," Archivist Oldwing said. "But the descriptions that remain are intriguing. They stood on 2 legs. They had no scales, no fur, no natural armor. Their young were helpless and required years of care to reach maturity. Yet they were not weak." "Sounds like humans," Liam said. "Indeed," Scholar Brightscale agreed. "Listen to this description." He read from one of the plates, translating as he went. "The Bridgers understand the language of fear and comfort. They see past what a being says to what a being feels. In their presence, enemies become friends. They collect companions from every world they visit, building families from strangers." "That's definitely humans," Liam's mom said with a smile. "We've been adopting random animals since we lived in caves." Archivist Oldwing picked up another plate. "This one is more specific. It describes a meeting between draconid explorers and a group of Bridgers. A young draconid was injured far from home. She was dying. The Bridger group had no medical technology that could help. But they stayed with her anyway. They held her. They sang to her. They refused to let her die alone." The old archivist's voice got thick with emotion. "The young draconid survived. She said later that she didn't understand their words, but she understood their intention. They cared for her like she was family even though they'd just met." Cinder made a small sound and nuzzled Liam's cheek. "What happened to the Bridgers?" Liam asked. "They vanished from galactic records approximately 40,000 years ago," Scholar Brightscale said. "We don't know why. Some species suggested they went extinct. Others thought they returned to their home world. A few believed they transcended to a higher plane of existence. Or," Liam's mom said slowly, "they went home to survive an ice age." Every draconid in the room turned to stare at her. "Earth went through several ice ages," she explained. "The most recent severe one ended about 12,000 years ago. But there were others before that. 40,000 years ago, humanity was struggling to survive harsh climate changes. If our ancestors had been exploring space before that, they would have needed to come home to deal with survival." "You're suggesting humans are the Bridgers?" Archivist Oldwing looked skeptical. "That would mean humans had space travel 40,000 years ago. Your own records say humans only reached space a few hundred years ago. Our recorded history only goes back about 5,000 years reliably," Liam's mom admitted. "Before that, we have myths and legends, but very little hard evidence. Climate change and time destroyed most traces of ancient civilizations. If humans did have advanced technology 40,000 years ago, an ice age could have wiped out all evidence of it." Scholar Brightscale was pacing now, his scales showing thinking colors. "It would explain so much." Why humans adapt so easily to different environments. Why they can eat such a wide variety of foods. Why they form bonds with other species so naturally. These aren't random traits. They're the result of millions of years living alongside diverse life and then thousands of years traveling between different worlds. But why didn't humans remember? One of the other archivists asked. How do you forget space travel? Survival, Liam's mom said. When you're fighting to live through an ice age, you focus on basics. Food, shelter, fire. Complex knowledge gets lost within a few generations if it's not written down, and writing materials don't last long in harsh conditions. Eventually, space travel becomes a myth. Then the myths fade too. Liam thought about all the ancient human legends of people who could fly, of chariots that traveled to the heavens, of gods who came from the stars. Everyone always assumed those were just stories. But maybe they were memories of something real that had been forgotten over time. There's more, Archivist Oldwing said. She brought out one final plate larger than the others. This is a treaty of friendship between the Draconid Empire and the Bridgers. It's signed by both parties. The Bridger signature is on the bottom. She pointed to a symbol that looked like a handprint, a human handprint. The room went silent. Liam reached out and placed his own hand over the ancient print. It was smaller than his, maybe from a child or a small adult, but it was definitely a human hand. 5 fingers, a thumb, no claws. We are the Bridgers, Liam whispered. Not just Bridgers anymore, Scholar Brightscale said. You're humans. You've had your own journey, your own struggles, but yes, the connection is clear. Your species has done this before. 40,000 years ago, humans traveled the stars and made friends everywhere they went. Then you forgot and had to learn everything again from scratch. But the ability never left, Archivist Oldwing added. Even when humans forgot how to travel between worlds, they never forgot how to make friends. That instinct stayed strong through every ice age, every catastrophe, every moment of hardship. You kept collecting companions, kept building bridges, kept seeing the value in other beings. Cinder chirped and climbed down to the table. She walked over to the ancient handprint and placed her small foreclaw next to it. Then she looked at Liam, and her scales showed understanding colors. She knows, Lady Ember said softly. Somehow the hatchling understands. Of course she understands, Liam said. We're family. Family understands each other. Word of the discovery spread fast. Within days, every major species in the Galactic Council knew about the Bridgers and humanity's possible connection to them. Some species were excited. Others were skeptical. A few were worried. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Liam and his mom were invited to attend via video link. Cinder insisted on being in the video too, sitting in Liam's lap and waving at the camera. The council chamber was enormous. Representatives from 30 different species sat in a circular arrangement. Each species had their own unique appearance. Some looked like insects. Others were crystalline beings that glowed with internal light. A few were clouds of gas held together by energy fields. The council leader, a being called Speaker Harmony, addressed them directly. Speaker Harmony looked like a floating jellyfish made of starlight. Beautiful but strange. Humans of Earth, Speaker Harmony's voice echoed from everywhere at once. We have reviewed the evidence presented by our Draconid colleagues. The connection between humanity and the ancient Bridgers is compelling. What do you say to these findings? Liam's mom spoke carefully. We cannot confirm with certainty that humans are descended from the Bridgers. Our historical records don't reach back that far. But the evidence is intriguing, and the behavioral patterns match what we know about human psychology. The real question, said a mantis-like delegate, is what this means for the present. If humans truly have this bridge-building ability, how do we know they won't use it to manipulate other species? Before Liam's mom could answer, Liam spoke up. Why would we do that? The mantis delegate turned compound eyes toward him. Because manipulation is power, young human. Every species seeks advantage. That's sad, Liam said. Cinder chirped in agreement. Making friends isn't about getting advantage. It's about caring what happens to other people. When Cinder was scared, I didn't help her to get something from her. I helped because she needed help. The young human speaks truth, said a representative from a species called the Scholars. They looked like walking trees. We have observed humanity's interactions with other species since they joined the council. They approach every new species with curiosity and openness. They offer help freely. They form emotional bonds quickly. Perhaps too quickly, General Scalebane's voice cut in. He was attending the council meeting as part of the Draconid delegation. Humans form attachments without understanding long-term consequences. They feel first and think later. Is that not the definition of trust? Speaker Harmony asked gently. To offer friendship before calculating the cost? Trust without wisdom is foolishness, General Scalebane argued. And wisdom without trust is loneliness, Liam said. Everyone looked at him. He felt his face get hot, but he kept talking. You're also worried about being strong and smart that you forgot how to be friends. That's why you need complicated treaties and rules. You don't trust each other. Liam, his mom warned. But Speaker Harmony was glowing brighter. The child sees clearly. We in the council have maintained peace for 10,000 years through law and structure. But it is a cold peace. We coexist but do not connect. Perhaps that is why so many species live in isolation despite sharing the same galaxy. Humans offer us a different path, the tree-like scholar said. Not law and structure, but genuine relationship. It is unprecedented. It is also desperately needed. Liam stood in front of the bathroom mirror trying to fix his hair. Today was important and he wanted to look presentable. Cinder sat on the counter watching him with amused eyes. Every time he got his hair to lay flat, she'd breathe a tiny puff of warm air and mess it up again. Stop it, Liam said, but he was smiling. Today they were going to meet the Hive Collective. Nobody had ever successfully talked to the Hive before. They were a species of insect-like beings who worked together like ants or bees, but on a massive scale. The Hive had been expanding into neutral space for years. Every time the Council sent diplomats to talk, the Hive either ignored them or destroyed their ships. War seemed inevitable, unless humans could do something different. The idea had come from Lady Embera during a council meeting. If humans could calm Draconid hatchlings and understand emotional states across species, maybe they could find a way to communicate with the Hive. It was a long shot, but the council was desperate enough to try. Liam hadn't expected to be part of the mission. He was just a kid. But when the council asked for human volunteers, Liam raised his hand before his mom could stop him. Cinder had chirped loudly in support. You're both too young, his mom had argued. But Scholar Brightscale disagreed. Young ones see possibilities that adults have forgotten. And the bond between Liam and Cinder is unique. If any team can bridge the impossible gap, it's them. So here they were, getting ready to risk their lives talking to aliens who'd destroyed every diplomatic ship sent to them. The transport shuttle was small and fast. Besides Liam and Cinder, the team included Lady Embera, Scholar Brightscale, and 3 human diplomats from Earth. One of them, Ambassador Williams, was a tough-looking woman who'd spent years working in hostile environments. Remember the protocol? Ambassador Williams said as they approached Hive space. We don't go to the leadership. We find the workers, the lowest-level individuals, the ones nobody pays attention to, because they might be more open to contact? One of the other diplomats asked. Because they're the ones doing actual work, Liam said. The queens and leaders just give orders. But the workers see what really happens. They know what problems need solving. Ambassador Williams nodded. Exactly. Liam's insight was crucial to planning this mission. Most species try to talk to whoever's in charge, but the Hive leadership has no reason to negotiate. They're winning. The workers, though? They're the ones facing the hard parts of expansion. Long hours, dangerous conditions, constant pressure. If anyone in the Hive wants a different way, it'll be them. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a Hive border colony. It was built on an asteroid, with structures that looked like giant termite mounds made of metal and crystal. Thousands of Hive workers moved across the surface, carrying materials and tending to various projects. No weapons detected, the pilot reported. This colony is primarily industrial. Mining and processing. Good, Lady Embera said. We want to avoid military installations. They landed on a flat area away from the main structures. As soon as the door opened, Liam could smell something sharp and chemical. The air was breathable, but barely. The gravity was light, making every step feel bouncy. Hive workers noticed them immediately. A dozen of the insect beings approached but stopped about 50 feet away. They were each about 4 feet tall with 6 legs and 4 arms. Their heads had massive compound eyes and clicking mandibles. The workers stood in formation, perfectly still, watching the visitors with alien intelligence. They're waiting for us to state our purpose, Scholar Brightscale said. According to protocol, we should announce our diplomatic intentions. That's what everyone else did before getting blown up, Liam said. Let's try something different. He started walking toward the workers. Cinder stayed on his shoulders, her scales showing cautious green. Ambassador Williams moved to follow, but Lady Embera held her back. Let the boy try his way, Lady Embera whispered. Liam approached the hive workers slowly. When he got within 10 feet, he stopped and sat down on the ground. Sitting made him smaller, less threatening. It was the same thing he'd done with Cinder that first day. The hive workers looked at each other. Their antennae twitched. They made clicking sounds that might have been communication. Liam watched them carefully. He noticed one worker standing slightly apart from the others. That worker had a damaged foreleg that hadn't healed properly. It must have made work difficult. You're hurt, Liam said, pointing to the damaged leg. The injured worker's antennae went rigid. The other workers shifted nervously. Liam slowly took off his backpack and pulled out a medical kit. His mom had insisted he bring it. He opened it and showed the contents to the workers. Bandages, repair gel, basic tools. Can I help fix your leg? Liam asked. The workers clicked frantically at each other. This was clearly not in any protocol they knew. An outsider offering to help a worker? Impossible. But the injured worker took one step forward. Then another. It approached Liam carefully and extended the damaged leg. Liam examined the injury. The leg's joint was partially crushed and had healed wrong. He had repair gel that might help, but only if he could realign the joint first. This is going to hurt for a second, Liam warned. But then it'll feel better. He wasn't sure if the worker understood his words, but tone mattered more anyway. Liam carefully manipulated the damaged joint while applying the repair gel. The worker made a high-pitched sound but didn't pull away. When Liam finished, he wrapped the leg in a supportive bandage. The worker tested the leg and seemed surprised. It could put weight on it again. The joint wasn't perfect, but it was functional. The worker reached out with one of its forearms and gently touched Liam's shoulder. Then it turned to the other workers and made a series of rapid clicks. Everything changed. The workers rushed forward. For a moment, Liam thought he'd made a terrible mistake, but they weren't attacking. They were showing him things. Broken tools. Damaged equipment. One worker had a cracked carapace that was leaking fluid. They wanted help. Ambassador Williams and the rest of the team approached carefully. When the hive workers saw more humans with medical supplies and tools, they became even more excited. For the next 3 hours, the human Draconid team worked alongside hive workers fixing problems. They repaired equipment, treated injuries, and even helped optimize a processing system that had been running inefficiently. The workers watched everything with intense interest, learning as they went. Scholar Brightscale noticed something amazing. They're modifying their behavior based on what they observe. The hive is supposed to be rigid and unchanging, but these workers are adapting in real time. Lady Embera was helping a group of workers repair a structural support. She looked happy in a way Liam had never seen before. Covered in dust and working hard, she was just another person helping solve problems instead of a formal diplomat following protocols. As sunset approached, something unexpected happened. A much larger hive being arrived at the colony. This one stood 8 feet tall with elaborate markings on its carapace. A supervisor or maybe low-level leader. The workers all stopped and turned toward the newcomer, falling into rigid formation. But the injured worker that Liam had helped first didn't join the formation. Instead, it stood between Liam and the large hive being. The large hive being made loud clicking sounds, probably demanding to know what was happening. The injured worker clicked back. Other workers joined in. Soon dozens of workers were clicking all at once, their voices overlapping. What are they saying? Ambassador Williams asked. I think, Scholar Brightscale said slowly, and they're arguing. The supervisor wants to know why they're interacting with outsiders. The workers are explaining what happened. The large hive being went silent. It stared at Liam with its compound eyes. Then it did something nobody expected. It sat down on the ground the way Liam had done earlier. I think, Liam said, we're invited to stay. That evening, the human Draconid team was taken into the hive colony. The interior was warm and smelled like honey and metal. Workers showed them around, explaining through gestures and simple actions what each chamber was for. Nurseries where young hive members grew, food production centers, water recycling systems, repair bays. It was a city, a home. These weren't mindless drones. They were people living complex lives, just organized differently than other species. Ambassador Williams recorded everything. The council needs to see this. The Hive isn't just a machine that conquers territory. They're a society trying to survive and grow. But they've been destroying diplomatic ships, one of the other diplomats pointed out. The large hive being that had sat down earlier approached them. It carried a piece of paper, something it must have found in the colony's salvage. Using a piece of charcoal, it drew simple pictures. The first picture showed hive workers and a ship. The second picture showed the ship shooting at workers. The third picture showed workers destroying the ship. They thought the diplomatic ships were attacking, Liam said. They were defending themselves. Scholar Brightscale studied the drawings. Council ships have defensive weapons. The Hive probably perceived the weapon systems as offensive threats. Add in communication failure, and you get tragic misunderstanding instead of dialogue. So this whole conflict, Lady Embera said quietly, was just two sides who couldn't understand each other's intentions. We came in peace but looked like threats. They responded to perceived threats like any species would. The large hive being drew another picture. This one showed humans and hive workers side by side with tools, building something together. I think, Liam said, they're asking if we want to be friends. Cinder chirped happily and her scales showed excited gold colors. The hive workers nearby seemed to enjoy watching her colors change. Some of them tried to mimic the colors by moving their carapaces to catch the light differently. Ambassador Williams laughed. We came here expecting hostility. Instead, we found people who just wanted help with their problems and maybe some friends who don't shoot first. That's what being human is about, Liam said. We look for friends everywhere, even in places everyone else thinks are impossible. 5 years had changed everything. Liam was 20 years old now, tall and confident in ways his younger self would have found impossible. He wore the simple uniform of the Interspecies Children's Cultural Exchange Program, comfortable and practical. No fancy medals or formal dress, just honest work clothes for honest work. Cinder walked beside him on 4 legs now. She'd grown into a beautiful young adult draconid, her scales a permanent blue gold that showed contentment and pride. She was taller than Liam when she stood on her hind legs, but she rarely did that around him, old habits from when she was small enough to ride on his shoulders. They walked through Unity Park, a massive green space in the heart of the new council city. This city existed because of what happened after the Hive contact. When the council realized that most galactic conflicts came from misunderstanding, rather than genuine incompatibility, they built a place where all species could live and work together. A place designed for mixing instead of separation. The park was full of children today. Human kids played with draconid hatchlings, teaching them Earth games while learning to fly short distances. Hive larvae practiced building structures with younglings from a dozen other species. A group of young scholars, the tree-like beings, were planting seeds with human and draconid children, everyone working together to grow something beautiful. Do you remember when you first arrived on Pyro 7? Cinder asked. Her voice had matured into a pleasant alto with musical undertones. You were so small and scared. I wasn't scared, Liam protested. Your scent said otherwise, Cinder teased. Humans smell different when they're nervous. Slightly sour, like unripe fruit. That's embarrassing. You never told me you could smell my emotions. You never asked. Cinder's scales rippled with amusement colors. Besides, I was terrified too. All those adults staring at me, expecting me to be something I didn't know how to be. Then you sat down and treated me like a normal child instead of a royal hatchling or a dangerous creature. They reached a fountain at the center of the park. Water flowed in artistic patterns, and the benches around it were designed to accommodate different body types. Humans sat next to insectoid hive members. Draconids shared space with the floating jellyfish-like beings. Children from every species played in the water together. I got a message from Mom this morning, Liam said. She's working on the border colonies now, setting up more exchange programs. She says the demand is overwhelming. Every species wants their children to learn what we learned. That we're not so different under the scales and skin? Cinder asked. That friendship is possible even when it seems impossible, Liam corrected. A young human girl, maybe 8 years old, ran up to them. She was out of breath and excited. A small hive larva clung to her shoulder, its antennae waving happily. Liam, you're Liam, right? The one from the stories? I'm Liam, he confirmed. But I'm not sure about the stories. What have you heard? That you were the first human to make friends with a draconid hatchling. That you saved a whole city with just singing. That you went to the Hive and came back alive. The stories make it sound more exciting than it was, Liam said. Mostly I just tried to be nice and things worked out. Can you teach me? The girl asked eagerly. I want to be a bridge builder like you. I want to help species become friends. The hive larva on her shoulder clicked softly. The girl turned her head to listen, then nodded. My friend says she wants to learn too, the girl translated. She's never had a friend from another species before she met me. Now she has lots of friends. Liam knelt down so he was eye level with the girl and the larva. You're already doing it. Being a bridge builder isn't about being special or famous. It's about seeing someone who needs a friend and deciding to be that friend. You did that naturally. Really? The girl's eyes went wide. It's that simple? It's that simple, Liam confirmed. Though simple doesn't mean easy. Sometimes being a friend is hard. Sometimes other people don't understand. But if you keep trying, keep being open and kind, things usually work out. The girl beamed and ran off with the hive larva, shouting to her other friends about what Liam had said. Cinder made an amused rumbling sound. You're good with children. Better than most professional teachers. I had a good example, Liam said, scratching under her chin the way she liked. A certain naughty baby dragon taught me a lot about patience and understanding. I was not naughty, Cinder protested. I was expressing my emotional needs in the only way I knew how. You set 3 ceremonial robes on fire and knocked over priceless artifacts. Details. They sat on a bench and watched the children play. A draconid father flew overhead with his hatchling, teaching flying techniques. A human mother sat on the grass with a hive worker, both of them watching their young ones build sandcastles together. A scholar elder told stories to a mixed group of children who listened with rapt attention. Did you ever imagine it would be like this? Cinder asked quietly. No, Liam admitted. When I first met you, I was just trying to help a scared kid. I didn't think about changing the galaxy, but you did change it. We changed it. Every species that joins the cultural exchange program, every child who makes a friend from a different world, every parent who realizes their child can be close to them instead of raised by handlers. All of that came from one moment when you decided to approach a naughty hatchling instead of running away. Liam thought about that first day, how terrified he'd actually been, despite what he told Cinder, how everyone had stared at him like he was crazy, how Cinder had felt in his arms, small and warm and trusting. I'm glad I walked toward you instead of away, he said. So am I. Cinder leaned against him, careful not to put too much weight on his smaller human frame. Though I should be grateful to whoever left the nursery door unlocked that day. That was you, wasn't it? You escaped on purpose. I plead the fifth. Is that what humans say? They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that existed because 3 different species had combined their artistic traditions to modify the atmospheric processors. Even the sunset was collaborative now. A group of teenagers approached them, mixed species laughing and talking together. One of them, a young draconid with green scales, spoke first. Are you really the Liam? The one from the bridge building program? I helped start the program, Liam said. But lots of people made it work. We're heading to the community center, a human boy in the group said. There's a music session tonight. Mixed species instruments and vocals. Want to come? It would be amazing to have you there. Liam looked at Cinder. She nodded, her scales showing enthusiastic colors. We'd love to, Liam said. The community center was crowded with young people from across the galaxy. Someone had set up instruments from 30 different worlds. The session started chaotic, everyone playing their traditional music. But slowly people began to listen to each other. Draconid harmonics blended with hive rhythmic clicking. Human melodies wove through scholar percussion. The jellyfish beings added their ethereal sounds to the mix. It shouldn't have worked. Every species had completely different musical traditions. But somehow, impossibly, it became beautiful, not because anyone was following rules, but because they were listening to each other and finding ways to fit together. Liam and Cinder joined in, their old lullaby becoming part of the larger song. Other voices and sounds joined them, building on what they started. The music grew and changed, becoming something none of them could have created alone. When the session finally ended, everyone was exhausted and happy. A young hive musician approached Liam. That was incredible, they clicked through a translation device. I've never experienced anything like it. Making music with other species, finding harmony in difference. That's what being part of something bigger feels like, Liam said. You don't lose yourself. You become part of a greater whole. Later, as they walked back through the quiet streets, Cinder said, General Scalebane attended a cultural exchange presentation last week. Liam looked at her in surprise. Really? The general who thought I was corrupting you? The same. He's old now, very old. But he came to watch Draconid hatchlings playing with human children. My mother says he cried. He realized what he missed with his own children by following old traditions. He's been advocating for changing our child-rearing practices. People can change, Liam said. It just takes time and the right example. They reached Liam's apartment, a modest place in the residential district. Tomorrow he had 3 different colonies to visit, helping new cultural exchange programs get started. Next week he was scheduled to speak at a council session about expanding the program to species that hadn't joined yet. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't walked toward me that day? Cinder asked. Liam thought about it. The council probably would have found another way eventually. Humans are naturally good at bridge building. Someone else would have figured it out. Maybe, Cinder agreed. But it wouldn't have been the same. You changed me, Liam. Before I met you, I was going to grow up isolated and lonely like every other Draconid. Instead, I learned that love and friendship are stronger than any tradition. Now I get to help other young ones learn the same thing. We helped each other, Liam said. I was just a scared kid pretending to be brave. You taught me that being different doesn't matter if you care about each other. Cinder's scales shifted to deep blue with threads of gold, the colors of profound contentment and love. Your species has a gift, you know. Not the bridge building or the empathy. Those are just tools. Your real gift is hope. Humans look at impossible situations and think, maybe this can work. That hope is contagious. You spread it everywhere you go. Is that such a bad thing? It's the best thing. Cinder touched her foreclaw to his hand. In a galaxy full of ancient species who've seen everything, humans remind us that there's always something new to discover. Usually that new thing is friendship. Somewhere in the distance, children were laughing, human voices mixed with Draconid chirps and hive clicks and sounds from a dozen other species, all of them playing together in the warm evening, making memories that would shape the future. Liam smiled. 5 years ago, he'd been a nervous 14-year-old who just wanted to help a scared baby dragon. He hadn't planned to change the galaxy. He'd just done what felt right. Maybe that was the secret. Maybe the greatest changes came not from grand plans, but from small moments of kindness. A boy sitting down to comfort a frightened child. An offer to fix a broken leg. A song shared across impossible divides. Humans had returned to the stars after 40,000 years, and they'd brought with them the same gift their ancestors had carried. The ability to see strangers and think friend. The courage to approach when others retreated. The hope that things could be better if people just tried. Come on, Liam said. We have a busy day tomorrow. 3 new colonies and at least 100 children who need to know that differences don't have to divide us. Do you think we'll ever run out of bridges to build? Cinder asked. No, Liam said confidently. As long as there are people who feel alone or different or scared, there will be bridges to build. And as long as humans are around, there will be people willing to build them. They walked into the apartment together, partners in the greatest project the galaxy had ever seen. Not a project of conquest or expansion or technological advancement. A project of connection, of turning strangers into friends, of building a future where every child, regardless of species, grew up knowing they belonged to something greater than themselves. The galaxy was changing one friendship at a time, and it had all started with a simple choice made by a nervous boy who saw a scared baby dragon and decided to help instead of running away. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the biggest consequences. Sometimes approaching when others retreat changes everything, and sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible becomes possible because someone believed it could be. Liam looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, more bridges waited to be built. More friendships waited to be discovered. More impossible things waited to become possible, and he couldn't wait to get started.